So for those of you that know my story, buckle up, I have an update. And for those of you that don't know my story, buckle up because I got a story for you.
Between the sociopathic cheating and weaponized incompetence, women have had enough. Let's hear what the women of TikTok are saying about why they're choosing to decenter men.
So long story short, for whoever doesn't know, my ex-boyfriend cheated on me and got the girl pregnant that he cheated on me with, and I didn't find out until she was like 4 months pregnant and we were still dating. We of course broke up though. So recently, as in this morning, I found something else out. And you know, like when you're going through a breakup and new things just keep coming up throughout however long you're broken up. For me, it's been 9 months and I am still finding things out, which is literally terrible. So, to cut to the chase here, last year, him and I went to Spain. This was his idea. He invited me to come there because he was there doing some work and he literally flew me out there. Come to find out this morning, he had this other girl there in Spain right before I got there. So, of course, I'm sitting here like bamboozled because I'm like, what? So, we were basically like taking turns. Like, she left and I flew in. I literally don't know whether to like laugh or cry. There is a very special seat in hell for this man. Like, I knew things were bad, but like, I really didn't think they could keep getting worse. I just personally don't understand how a human being could do these things to somebody that they claim they love and want to spend their life with and just not have remorse. Like, I'm not even sad about it anymore because I've just accepted this is just who he is. But it definitely still messes with my head because I'm like, how? Like, how did we end up here? How did I not see all of this? How was I missing this? And mind you, Spain was like one of my favorite places I've ever visited. Like, I loved it so much, I literally wanted to move there. And he completely just ruined that for me. Like, literally had another girl there less than a week before I got there. I just personally feel so taken advantage of by somebody that I obviously loved and cared about. And it literally makes me sick.
Obviously, we are decentering men, romantic relationships, we're not accepting weaponized incompetence, etc., etc. But in the relationship realm, things really changed for me when I had this one realization. And it was that relationships, meet cutes, meeting someone is not that fantastical, it is not that special, and it is not that out of the question. Once I started viewing relationships as really mundane things that weren't out of the realm of possibility for me or for you, because I really need to stop flattering myself. I'm not that much of a freak. I'm not that much of an outlier. I'm not that interesting. I'm not that special. So, like, why wouldn't it happen for me? You. In cishet world, if that feels like too much of a leap for you, if you can't possibly believe that you will meet a random man on the street one day and he'll become very important to you, think about it like this. Your best friend, she was a random bitch once upon a time, not so long ago. And now, when she says stupid things in public, you're like, yeah, I support you. And then you go home and you're like, bro, what the fuck? You will have that in a romantic way as well. Someone very random will become important to you if you so choose to have it. So yeah, stop putting relationships on a pedestal and stop marking yourself down as some outlier.
Hi, what's up? My name is Ryan. I'm an ICU nurse, and I'm here to tell you to decenter men. They never deserve to be the center of your attention. This summer, the hot girls are decentering men. What did that boy, who does not know the difference between gel, acrylic, and dip, do to deserve more than 10 seconds of your attention in the past week? Nothing. Nothing. So many women get so tore up when a man doesn't call them back. Like, why doesn't he like me? Like, girl, why do you want him to like you? Decenter him. Decenter him. We as women are literally the center of men's universes. Like, the center. The sooner you learn that, the happier you will be.
Okay, so what has changed for me since I've decentered men from my life? Well, I've definitely honestly become much less of a pick-me, because before I'd be like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so impressed. Like, this guy wants to take me out to a fancy restaurant or whatever. I'd be like, oh my God. And I'd kind of like fawn over the guy, or fawn over the situation. And that's just like just now I'm looking back and I'm cringing and I'm like, wow, it's really pick me behavior. And now, like, you know, I'm posting on TikTok. I work a full-time job. I'm working out every single day. I'm cooking, eating clean. I'm on top of my shit. Because I worked on my labels. I worked on, like, who I was. And I was like, you know what? I woke up one day, I was like, I'm an influencer and I'm a high-value woman. And this is what an influencer and a high-value woman would do. She would do these things on a daily basis with discipline. Anyway, so the point being that after I focused on myself and became obsessed with myself and building myself up, now, you know, I still get asked for dates and I'm still getting, you know, the same, like, oh yeah, like, you know, take you to a fancy restaurant, and then I'm just like, now I'm actually, literally, here's what goes on my head. I'm just like, do I like this person off of face value enough? Or is, like, you know, the experience they're offering me, is it, like, exciting for me enough to take time away from when I could be working on building myself? You know what I mean? Like, things that I actually really enjoy, things that I love, like my life that I is full, you know? And I'm like, well, I could just be working on TikToks, or I could be, like, doing my self-care routine, or I could be, like, reading about something really cool, like, that could make myself a more, like, worldly and knowledgeable person and high-value woman. Like, so now I'm really, like, evaluating, I feel like, much more pragmatically all the sort of, like, attention and requests and stuff like that. And I feel like that really has leveled the playing ground.
Go watch the video that this comment was left on and then read this comment. The question that the podcasters were asking, they were all men, all Black men. The question posed was, do women make more money single or in a relationship? And this commenter says, before him, she made 65K. When she was with him, 55K. After him, 105K. His constant need for attention stole my time and therefore my money.
My name is Andrea Tate, and I'm on a journey to decentering men in my life. I've retired from my career of being a huge slut. I've taken a vow of celibacy, including even interacting with men. For the next 6 months, we'll see if I can last 12. Unless I'm being paid to do so, or they're already friends of mine, because I'm super into nurturing the relationships that are already special to me in my life. I started this on the 24th of September. I've written a list of pros thus far. Number 1, no longer need to speak with men other than professionally. This is actually relaxing. Number 2, several more hours back in the day to sleep, read, or exercise. The amount of time I've wasted where I could have been working on myself, but I was, like, in some dusty dude's bed. Number 3, time back to advance my career and build on my existing friendships. Amazing. I have not nurtured my friendships because I've been centering men this whole time. So I'm just, like, making my friends know that I love them, and also actually going to work on my career so I can, like, jump an income bracket so that I don't need to rely on some dusty man. Number 4, save money for therapy. I was already in therapy, but the amount of therapy I'm going to need to get over what my ex did to me is going to be expensive, and I cannot invoice him because he blocked me. Last but not least, oral sex is the leading cause of throat cancer. Look it up.
Forcing the most unruly boy in class to sit with the gifted girl in hopes that she will get him to calm down is just one of many ways in which society conditions women to believe it's our greatest responsibility to always accommodate, support, and temper men. And because we so often believe that to be true, we fail to do what we should be doing instead, focusing on ourselves and our development.
Not being desirable freed me up from
I have never related more to a TikTok, and I'm sure other dark-skinned Black women watching can relate to that TikTok too. When I was younger, I had a really good friend, and we both attended a very strict, traditional church, Nigerian church, and the rules meant that you weren't allowed to really pierce your ears, you weren't allowed to get hair extensions of any kind, you weren't allowed to wear trousers. Those of you who know. But it meant that the girls who were in that church almost had this insatiable desire to reach those beauty standards because they weren't really allowed to, because it was forbidden. And it also made them really want to like seek out the male gaze, because, you know, relationships of that kind at that age were severely frowned upon. My parents kind of stuck to a lot of these rules, so I wasn't allowed to do any of this stuff, but a lot of the girls at church were. And because I was dark skinned, because I had very visible 4C hair, I was one of the only girls at church who had 4C hair, and you could see it. Like, it wasn't in braids, it wasn't under a weave or anything like that. That meant I was so undesirable in school and in church, which was so sad, because my school was very, very white. I was going to a school in a very white area, but then what should have been my safe haven, being in a black church, also meant that I was incredibly undesirable, especially compared when you line me up to the girls at church. And now they were gorgeous as well, but my features were just not deemed as gorgeous or as desirable. Because I wasn't desirable, at that time I felt like wallpaper, but I'm so grateful that I was sidelined and I was basically invisible, because it gave me the power of looking and watching and observing. And what I observed was some of these girls so desperate, clamoring for male approval, for male validation, for the male gaze, putting up with terrible, abusive behavior from men at such a young age, putting up with cheating boyfriends for years at such a young age. Like, to me, I'm sorry, like, cheating is such a grown folks problem. Like, you really shouldn't be 15, 16 and dealing with that. But that's what these girls were putting themselves through because of this indoctrination. And I pray wherever these women are, they have found healing. I just remember feeling so sad that I wasn't sought after by these men. And honestly, that TikTok is so true, because when you're not being sought after by these men, it frees up your time, because what else? You can't go out to the clubs with them, because I personally wasn't allowed because of this strict lifestyle. And even if I was allowed, they weren't going to look my way anyway. So it meant that I had to invest time in myself. I had to figure out what I liked. And when I did figure out what I liked and what I was passionate about, what I was good at, what I enjoyed studying, what I enjoyed painting and reading, it filled me in this strange way that none of that validation could have ever filled me. It made me such like a complete person. I got to know myself more. And looking back now, that being passed over, being ignored by men at that time was probably the best thing that ever happened to me.